Well, hello, good evening. It's very good to see such a great turnout for the last, in our current series at least, of the Chancellor's Conversations. We'll have a new series beginning in the autumn. We've already got Sandy Toxvig, Bernard Cornwall, and a number of other names that I won't reveal just yet signed up to come in, so I look very much forward to that. But we wanted to finish this academic year's sessions with an extraordinary man and an extraordinary musician, a man whose name is, of course, synonymous with the Canterbury Sound and whose life has been one long inspiration and creative journey for many, many other musicians. Please, will you welcome Robert Wyatt. Maybe we should leave now while we're doing well. As many of you will know, Robert has worked with people ranging from Brian Eno and Jimi Hendrix to Dave Gilmour to Elvis Costello, Paul Weller, Gilad Atzmon, Phil Manzanera, a whole host of people. Now, the format tonight is just slightly different from other events you may have attended. It's a little bit more like Desert Island Discs. We're going to have, fairly obviously, a bit of music from our friends in Soup Songs. There'll be time for questions from the audience, so let's get on with it. Here are Soup Songs.
Above, oh no, I can't stand it. Stop, please, oh dearie me. What in heaven's name? Oh blimey, mercy me. Woe are we? Oh dear. Stop it! I can't forsake you or forsqueak you. Alfie, my lord. Alfie, my lord. Confiscate or make you late, you, Alfie, my lord, Alfie, my lord, not knit, not knit, no, not knit, knit, falling slowly. Burly bunch, the watermore, hairy plop and finger hole. Not was it undeceive for jangle and bojangle, trip, trip, pip, 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 wandering. Alfie, my lord, Alfie, my lord.
I'm not your larder, jammy jars and mustard. I'm not your dinner, you soppy old custard. And what's a bologna when it's a folly? I'm not your larder, I'm your dear little dolly. But but when plots get too helly, I'll fill up your belly. I'm not your larder, I'm Alifi, your garter.
Robert, you chose the music we're going to hear tonight. It's kind of obvious to anybody who knows anything about you why you chose the second of the two, but give us a flavour why you chose those two as openers.
Yeah, well, I mean, Annie knows this stuff very well, so she knows what means stuff to us. I mean, the first one, briefly, I would say, is about panic, and just that, not about anything particular, but it's just a common state, you know, not just humans, but wild animals, everybody's in a panic, quite a way. And but the second half of the tune I did first, I did the chord backwards to make it a bit longer because I only had about 6 tunes for a whole LP, you know. So it's great you play them backwards, and the great thing is nobody realises it's the same tune. You think, oh, that's very inventive. But just it's one of the tricks, you know. It's all tricks, and so that's it. But then it suggests you different ideas for a tune, and so for a song, and I get my words. I did. From the tune entirely, I'd listen to it till I heard words that fitted this tune. That's the way.
So the tune comes first?
It always was, and I just, because the instrument I played with voice, and I had to think something to do with it. Sometimes I come up with words, and sometimes they're not quite words.
You know what struck me listening to that there was that something which was cutting edge 40-something years ago is still very fresh now. And that to me is the great achievement of Robert Wyatt, frankly.
Well, yeah, you have to thank the band, blimey.
Well, they did a bit, yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm just slightly worried about doing the interview with them behind me in case anything goes wrong. The Canterbury sound. Let's talk a bit about that and Canterbury itself. I mean, do you buy into the fact there was a Canterbury sound, or maybe you could explain why this area became such a creative place?
It only emerged later that there were certain characteristics which the musicians that I played with and that went on to play with people I played with who were from this area had characteristics which we thought were sort of just normal things you put into the music, but it turned out that they weren't necessarily so. So particularly Brian Hopper here, who's one of he had the first big record collection that we all used to listen to. I remember Annie once asked me, where do you get all your tune ideas from? So I said, from sort of good old jazz records, really. You know, it's all. But that was part of our stuff. And then there again, Brian had been doing a lot of avant-garde music, avant-garde classical stuff. And I'd been brought up on a lot of 20th century modern music. And although I didn't have the technique to play it, I'd already understood that there's no such thing as a discord, for example. To me, the word doesn't mean anything whatsoever. If you've been brought up on Schoenberg and then moved on to listen to Cecil Taylor in jazz, you know, there's nothing you can't do. But we wanted to play for dances and for people to listen. And as Charles Mingus once said, you get too far from song and dance, you've lost it, you know.
But were you surprised you found an audience for that? Because you could have been at this tiny niche and ploughing a furrow and nobody listening, nobody turning up.
Ronnie Scott said, how do you make a living out of playing jazz? And he said, who's making a living? You know? I mean, when you're young, you can just wing it. I don't know what we live on or anything. We didn't have things like CVs and career. I didn't know about careers. I didn't expect to live long enough. That wasn't the trajectory. Like being in a band, British bands started up when National Service finished as a sort of alternative grueling routine that young men had to go through. And if there was a war on, which there always is, how very few of you came out of it alive, as we now know. Only me and Brian left out of this lot, you know.
And what about you? You were telling me about your memories of basically where we are, right? This area, which is now the university, but it certainly wasn't when you were first here.
Well, we used to rehearse in a house called Tanglewood, which was, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, but it was sort of surrounded by Tangley Woods. And it was top of Giles Lane, and it was a walk out from Canterbury up to Brian and Hugh's house, where he used to work out earlier songs in the early 60s. And and here it is. I mean, there's an early photograph of the Wildflowers where I'm sitting in a big pipe, which is actually a cut-off from the foundations of the sewers of this university. So if anybody's a founding member of this bloody place who deserves to be here right now...
Does that make you an underground musician?
That's right.
Oh, we're here all night, don't worry. I've seen that
that's
photograph.
it,
It's in your biography.
It's there, yeah. But I think that we were lucky that we didn't start with nothing. I mean, we got a lot. We were lucky with, as I say, Brian and my big brother Mark and my other... Listening to music, we weren't fixed in our time ever, and even as children, we weren't sort of just stuck into a generation saying that's what you listen to, that's your age group, etc. But we did love pop music and rock music. I mean, I really like the charts, and I like dancing, and I mean, not dancing, but playing for dancers. It's more fun. You can watch them then. I always think men dancing look a bit stupid, actually.
Do you know what? So do I. In terms of, actually, there's a great question. We've had quite a few questions have come in by email and Twitter and so on. But the one that I really liked was, for you, how important were the names of the bands you've been a member of? Does a band name matter? I suspect anybody who went from Soft Machine to Matching Mole thinks names matter.
Well, I like them to mean something. I mean, you can say that human being is a soft machine. All living things are. So there's a basis there for something. I wouldn't call myself, the metal candle. Why? Metal. It's got to be something that you could actually resonate back to something that means something. I do like that. On the other hand, I do love total nonsense as well. So really, but there's a group called Gorky's Zygotic Monkey, a Welsh group, very nice bunch. They were, and I looked up all these words in the dictionary, what they meant, who Gorky was. I was checking that. I knew that, of course, as an old commie, but. And then there's zygotic. I thought, what's that? And all that, and so I talked about it with them. They said they had no idea. They thought it was complete nonsense. And I felt like a fool, that I'd sort of tried to read meaning into it.
The perpetual search for meaning. And you said the words come afterwards, but how important are the lyrics for you? I mean,
they didn't used to be not at all. I was concerned that because I like singing along to the records I like, which are mostly instrumental. Maybe that's it. Most of the music I listened to was instrumental. I didn't used to listen to a lot of singing. And jazz people and Mingus, and the tunes by people like Charles Mingus and Thelonious Monk singing along. But if you don't have any words, you're either left with ooh, ah, and do and all that stuff. And it seems a shame to waste all the extraordinary, because the one thing a voice can do, which no other instrument can do, we've got all these consonants and vowels, and with different accents and languages. And no other instrument can really do that. I mean, saxophones can get near, and Jennifer gets quite near on guitar. But, I mean, basically, I just thought, we've got to use that. So back to words. But in the first place, it was simply as a musical device, trying to get the most of it out of it as I could. And eventually, meaning did creep in. But I never sat down and think, I want to say something. It would sort of emerge. If you're not careful with words, you keep using them, a meaning may emerge, however meaningless they try to be. A thought will occur.
Yeah, but then you get people like you trying to make sense out of what is clearly nonsense, and that.
Yeah, I know. It's fraudulent, really. I find though that what makes tunes work musically is, in fact, very often they're things that do sound like a phrase. They sound like they are already somebody trying to say something. A lot of tunes, and I can see very well how the great songwriters use that fact. I got plenty and nothing's plenty for me. You can see how you got the you can see how that would turn into that naturally. So it seems to be a very organic way round, because I don't know if speech was invented, but I can imagine singing might have come first, and then they sort of filled it out. Oh, I can do this. I can make it,
And just we're going to hear again from the Soup Songs in just a second, but in terms of this Canterbury sound thing,
yes.
I mean, was that something important? Were you conscious of it? Because you were saying, we were just making music, that we'd like to make music, but you liked particularly jazz, your jazz roots, but you listened to pop as well. I mean, was it something, when you then went to London, you went to Los Angeles, went all over the world, was it something that you felt there was something special about East Kent in that period?
In retrospect, I do think that, but at the time, we were just doing what we were doing, and it seemed natural to us. It's only that we found out that other people weren't combining these elements, or didn't want to, or whatever, that it emerged that was the case. And I can't speak for Brian, but I can't think of it as a conscious thing. It's only something that outside it I can see, just the idea that it's perfectly all right, for example, to have an instrumental with a song in the middle, or that you can actually go into a 10-minute solo. Because if you've been listening to Ray Charles and Coltrane, why can't you have a song and a tenor solo? I mean, it just seemed perfectly natural to us, but I think for marketing purposes, it's a difficult sell. And so I don't think we were that, it never occurred to us, to sort of aim for a market, which I think is a really deadly thing to do,
Well, also it puts you in a pigeonhole. I mean, I know
It
people,
does.
when you hear, I know a lot of musicians, when I mention the words prog rock, because that is a basket in which some people are put.
Yeah.
So would you put John Heisman, would you put you in prog rock?
Right.
Well, presumably you hate it. Do you
Well,
hate,
I
you hate
don't
the
like-
kind of titles?
Well, the only thing is that I don't really, I don't think there is such a thing as progress in music or art at all. I mean, I think the old cave paintings in Lascaux, whatever it was, as good as painting gets, really. And probably Guillaume de Machaut was as good a composer as. I mean, I just don't. I don't think music gets better. I think it just changes. So, I originally, when I heard prog, I thought it meant program music, which is like Debussy, as opposed to Bach, which is pure music. I was very about it,
But the other thing is, the kind of stuff you do doesn't fit in easily into 2 minutes 30, which is what a Radio 1 producer or whatever it
That's
was at
right.
the time.
That was off the cards. And the whole business about you've got to have a record in the charts. Well, I'm too posh to be competitive like that. I just think,
On that note, let's hear a bit more posh music from some songs.
We'd like to invite up our first guest vocalist for tonight, the wonderful Cristina Donna, all the way from Italy.
You look different every time you come from the phone, crested bright. It's your skin shining softly in the moonlight. Partly fish, partly porpoise, partly baby sperm whale. Am I yours? Are you mine to play with? Choking apart when you're drunk. You're terrific when you're drunk. I like you mostly late at night. You're quite alright, but I can't
Christina Donna. I'm sure most of you know that that was Robert's beautiful song called Sea Song. And we're going to play another one now. We're going to play Alliance. And for that, we got the very wonderful Sarah Jane Morris, all the way from Canterbury.
There is a kind of compromise you are master of. Your endless gentle nudging left us polarized. And it's hard to talk to enemies. We are enemies. What we had in common makes it even worse. You're proud of being middle class, meaning upper class. You say you're self-sufficient, but you don't dig your own call. No, 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 no. And I think that what you're frightened of more than anything is knowing you need workers more than they need you. Heard of independent mind, Chomsky, he got it right. Just jogging into battle, waving old school time.
I don't know about you, Robert, but I think we've just seen one of the many reasons why live music has to be kept live.
Well, yes, you can't. Yes, there's no other way, is there?
You
That
can't compete.
human contact is serious.
Actually, let's talk about the second of those two songs, because
Yeah.
it was called Alliance.
Yeah.
And the inspiration, unlikely as this may seem, was...
Well, it was actually, I was fed up with the invention of the SDP, the Social Democrat Party, by a man I like to refer to as Screaming Lord Owen, because the reason he eventually gave up politics was he was beaten in his last election by the monster-raising Looney Party, which is, you're a newsman, I think that's true.
I think it probably is, I don't know.
Oh,
it's,
yeah,
it's a fact too good to check.
It is, that's right. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. Anyway, but I just thought, all right, I understand, you think, oh, well, we only tried trade unions, working class, it's boring, it's old, we want to be, weird stuff. Okay, well, don't be in the Labour Party then. Be honest, go and be something else, Tory. And then I thought, well, no, I'm not Tory. Oof, no, not me, mate. I'm too sophisticated. Well, the party made just for you. It's called the Liberals, They can be anything. They're Liberal, Democrat. So join them, boost their numbers. Because probably most people in England are actually Liberals. So why aren't they the biggest party? It's crazy. Join them. And no, we can form our own lot. Because if I join the Liberals, we have to work our way up the ranks. If we start straight away with our own party, then straight away we're the leaders of it, and dang, and all that. And I thought, oh, piss off. Just leave the bleeding Labour movement alone. I was a happy new trade unionist then, and enjoying the comradeship, if I may say so. And I just sort of... That was it. So that was it. The anger about these, and particularly with Lord Owen, he bought a pair of carpet slippers for the Shah of Iran. Well, I'm not having that. It was look. The Shah of Iran was put in because a democratic government had been in power. Mossadegh. It was secular democratic government in power, and this is checkable. It's not just left-wing fantasy. This was knocked out of place by a combined CIA effort and so on, and replaced by the Shah of Iran, who was carried on the old Shah tradition. But how much trouble could we have saved since then if we had in fact left the Democratic Party of Iran in place, even though they were going to nationalise some of their oil and stuff like that, which is what we didn't want them to do.
Of course, it could never happen nowadays, that kind of thing.
No, we would never do that.
We'd never get involved in oil in the Middle East.
People in those days, in the old days, dreadful behaviour. But anyway, so at the time, I wouldn't write it now, but that was the thing of it. But I also rather like this. What's that thing? Nice. That was a blues hit in America. On the Road Again. Who was that?
On the Road Again. Yeah.
Yeah, Kenny. I thought that was great. That solo.
Yeah.
On the road again. So I happened to. They both happened to collide in my head at the same time. So it ends up with On the Road Again. It started out with Screaming Lord Owen.
Screaming Lord Owen.
That's the panorama there.
You've just revealed something. It's in the book as well, the biography, which is great. But you've just revealed one of my favourite quotes is from T.S. Eliot, who I think I'm going to say it anyway. This is also too good to check. Who once said, "Good artists borrow, great artists steal."
Absolutely, that's right. Like I said, well, Andy, just look at my record collection, and you think, blimey, thank goodness people don't listen to a lot of jazz. They say, you know. In fact, I've got to own up to one now, which I never really owned up to before. The beginning of Alliance, da 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 da. I didn't know I was licking it, but it's straight off a Miles Davis Gil Evans record, a Blues for Pablo or something like that. It's outrageous.
Because there's some stuff that's conscious and some stuff it's just
No,
in your brain.
I just thought, and I've tried to write a tune, da 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 da, and it all turns out into Nature Boy, and I think, oh shit. Now if he says it already exists, Robert, but that's what happens. Sometimes you get
I mentioned your collaborations with lots of people earlier, and somebody wrote, you've had many fantastic collaborations throughout your year. Which stand out the most for you? I mean, we could be here all night just talking about this.
Yeah, well, one who just left me, I couldn't breathe with excitement with him. Björk came to visit our house. Well, it's because, I'm not saying the greatest musician or anything like that, but just a kind of magical presence, like coming out of a fairy tale into our little town in Lincolnshire. And there she was. And she didn't come in like, average gear. She came dressed as Björk, you know. So, and he's always local going,
Do you get a lot of Icelandic warriors in Laos?
well, they should do. You know, we got that ancient Danish connection, haven't we? But no, I just thought she was. I was dazzled by her, really. I just thought she was brilliant and wonderful, and something. It's what I'd call Northern Soul, really, and she had a magic. This is not a judgmental thing that she's better or worse than anybody else, but someone who really hit me and Alfie. We're both. She was here in the house, and she could get me to sing this stuff she wanted to do. She's making a record with all voices on it, beatbox stuff like that. And just at the last minute, she said, "Oh, asked me to do a bit, just to add on to it." So I did, and I came along, and she had her engineer with her called Valkyrie. He said, like the Valkyries, and I said, "Yeah, I can see that." And anyway, but I was so nervous, I made her go out while I did my bit, and she came back for a walk around Laos, and I said, "I'm finished," and I sent her out the room, and because I couldn't think what she wanted, I got in to do a rubber drum, which is to record me singing every note I could in a scale, one oo and one ah, I think, possibly even an all that. And he put them all down. I said, "You've got them all on tape. Now take them away and do what you like with. That's all me singing all those notes. You do it," which is what she did. It's making me nervous to think of it.
I'm kind of fascinated by that, though. The idea that you were nervous working with Björk when you've worked with, I'm not going to read the list again, but were you nervous? Are you nervous with everybody in the sense that
I'm a bit,
you want to do your
I
best?
always have been, although he's an old friend and he's a gentle and kind-hearted man, I'm always a bit sort of on my best behaviour with David Gilmour. And because he has a patrician air, and I admire him enormously, and we get on very well. But I do find myself trying to avoid swearing a bit. I don't know what it is. I can't pin it down. But it's good for me, and I love it. But we really get on well, but I can't help. But, so there,
And does he know this, that you clean up your act?
Oh, I don't think so. But once we were having a photograph taken, I was sitting there, somebody got us together, and he says, "Take your glasses off, Robert." And I said, I just thought he just presentation, and I need a bit of that, And when I did something with on stage and I finished, he wheeled off. I said, "Robert, come back. You acknowledged the applause." Da, da, da. Said, "Oh, sorry." And it's just the etiquette of just social life. I just feel that I can always learn something from him. But I like him very, very much, and I don't want to disappoint him, or I don't know. That kind of feeling. I don't know what it's.
That's very interesting. In terms of working with other people, I mean, you obviously must get on with quite a lot of other people. Not David Owen. He probably wouldn't invite you to sing on his album. But being in a band as opposed to being solo and a kind of free agent, but actually collaborating with people. I mean, how do you rate the two things? Is being in a band a good thing, or is it a bit of a?
Well, as I say, it's a bit. I'm not sure it's biologically advisable to stick 4 or 5 high testosterone men in their early 20s in a van on the M1 and up and down the autobahns for Europe for a couple of years. It's not a chemical mixture made in heaven. You know what I mean? I find it. I was no good at it. I have said this before, but I don't like being told what to do, and I can't tell other people what to do. So I was always. I've always felt I never really sat comfortably in a band. Having said that, I'm very pleased that I did my 10 years on the road, as a drummer, and I listen back to it and I think, but being in those bands made me play things I'd never have thought of myself, because I play with some real clever bastards, as Ian Drury would put it, and make you think, oh, that's a bit hard, and they say, but you've got to do it, and so it was very good for my brain. It was really good because I hadn't been to university. I felt it's almost like playing with people like Mike Rutledge and so on. It was a bit like going to university, really, but it's learning on the job, and so I don't regret it, but. I wouldn't repeat it. I was quite glad when I couldn't play drums anymore. So can't, broke me back.
did you feel as a musician you were getting better and better? I mean, there's a famous book in which there's a chapter about the Beatles that says they played 10,000 hours, who knows, but anyway, in the Reeperbahn in Hamburg, and that's how they made their music, because they really just got it together, and it wasn't a band on the M1, stuck in a van on the M1. It's slightly seedier, if anything.
No, we played Hamburg as well. We had to do, that's part of the British National Service in those days. But, I mean, it was, let's think about that. I should never have started thinking about it, sorry.
But you, I mean, because you said you learned a lot, and you've learned a lot from other people. I just wonder if you got better as a musician, or
absolutely, I got better, absolutely. I mean, I listen back now to time and signature stuff that we were handling, and I think, blimey, how do we do that? Especially because I couldn't read music, and I had to learn everything, all the thing off by heart, which I can learn up to about. I've got my limit is about 20 minutes, which is like the side of an LP. I can actually get it verbatim, more or less, note for note, in my head. And so I just can't believe I did that, really, learn that stuff. And so you had to be able to do it. So I'm really glad that I was forced into that kind of discipline by that situation. And I've certainly get me a lot of...
in a minute, we're just going to hear a couple of other songs, then I'll throw it open to questions from the audience, which I'm really interested in. But let me go through a couple more that have come in, that have been emailed in, because I quite like them. What do you think of the big resurgence of vinyl, with it again available outside specialist shops in a big way?
Oh, I think it's great. Humphrey Littleton said, just stick to what you like and it will come back eventually. And so vinyl, beards, what did I have to worry about? You know what I mean?
Vinyl, beards, yep. And craft ales.
Well, my son's into those. He's well into it. Craft ales. I think he just likes to drink, really, but he dresses it up a bit,
This one is interesting too. Do you think the album is a dying art? Because we are with the Spotify generation, and do you think? Well, how do you view that? Downloading tracks and so on, rather than buying an album.
I don't know. Every idiom's. I don't think any particular idiom is in itself intrinsically better than any other, or even in different kind of music. I just think if the idiom's available, an LP was a very good thing. I mean, but they're quite arbitrary. I mean, I'm lucky that I'd like to think in those 20-minute chunks. The LP as a vinyl was great for me because I tend to think in two halves of thing. Like each side of one record LP I made would have something to do with, or an echo of, an alteration of the A side. It would sort of. I'd like to try some sort of organic double thing there. I just felt like nature's like that. And but you already lose that with a CD, because CDs are only as long as they are, because the head of Deutsche Grammophon said it's got to be long enough for Beethoven's longest symphony or something like that. So it's 70 whatever minutes is, so you can get... Is
that right?
Yeah, Beethoven thing with the choral at the end.
I did not know that.
Yeah, that's it.
So form dictates content.
I say Deutsche Grammophon, could have been Deutsche Bank, I don't know. But anyone who makes all our laws like that. So already I was, with CDs, I started dividing them up anyway into chunks, and all this century, it didn't very long. The records I've made tend to be cut into two halves or three chunks or something like that. I like bite-sized chunks, and in fact I really think the single is a great format. It derives from the 78 record, really, and there are no better records made than old 78s. They're still wonderful things, and it's quite a good discipline to have to make them, and I think there's a lot of people making very short records very well at the moment. It's a different craft, and sometimes I don't sort of miss it. I mean, if you miss... The great thing about records is that they're recorded, so if you miss them, just play the old ones, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But the thing I missed most when it became very difficult to get vinyl, which it isn't now, is actually I missed the artwork as well. I missed the sound, but I missed the artwork. I missed when I was a 15-year-old boy walking around with some album that I wanted to show off, you felt quite good about yourself.
I so agree with that, and particularly for me, Mrs. Alfie, been doing my covers since rock bottom, honestly, and. She really spent, because she'd lived with the music and the song being written, she really got into the artwork for the cover, and also had studied typography and so the layout and all that sort of thing. And it was really part of it, what she did. And then when coming into making CDs, she had to make these little things like that. And she actually painted them that big, because she wasn't going to sort of squash that up. And she found a very, I think, elegant way of dealing with it. But we did miss, the the fold sleeve, that thing very much, and I'm very glad that it's back. And in fact, things that were only recorded on CD are now available via Domino Records and on vinyl, which is a funny way around.
Yeah, that's a very funny way around. But now, let's get some more from Soup Songs. Thank you.
Over and ocean away, like someone turning back for night round to the delta,
Thank you.
Christina Donna. I'm going to take this opportunity because we're kind of all on stage now to introduce the band to you. So I'm going to start at this end with the very fantastic Brian Hopper. And I'm going to start at this end with the equally fantastic Jeanette Mason on keyboards and piano.
Yeah.
Our lovely Liam Ginocchi on drums. Fantastic Tim Harris on bass. Sarah Jane Morris, guest vocal. And Christina Donna. And on vocals and guitar and queen of everything funky, Jennifer Maidman.
How about it for our leader, Annie Whitehead?
Thank you very much. We're going to do another version of one of Robert's tunes, of course. And this is, oh, look, the incredible Mark Lockhart on saxophone. Yeah, and this is Left On Man.
Left hand.
That's jazz. What we call freedom in the north means our freedom to use you. And if you don't cooperate, we'll cut off your supply lines. But you'll be free to reconnect if you just beg our forgiveness. You say I oversimplify. Well, yes, so did Albert Einstein. Brian Hopper on the sax.
Simplify, simplify, reduce. Oversimplify, 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 simplify, reduce.
There simply is no middle ground.
Oversimplify, simplify,
Can't take a
oversimplify,
Uber
simplify,
ride.
reduce. Oversimplify, simplify, reduce.
There never was a middle ground,
Oversimplify, simplify,
and that's the point I was
simplify,
making.
reduce. Oversimplify, simplify, reduce.
There's no such place as middle ground.
Oversimplify, simplify,
Left or right,
oversimplify,
the
simplify,
equator.
reduce. Oversimplify, simplify, 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 reduce.
What we call freedom in the north
Oversimplify, simplify,
means our freedom to use you.
oversimplify, simplify, reduce.
And if you don't cooperate,
Oversimplify, simplify,
we'll cut off your supply line.
oversimplify, simplify, reduce. Oversimplify, simplify, reduce.
Soup songs, ladies and gentlemen. Maybe we can bring our house lights up a bit and take some questions from the floor. I'm sure we've got, as usual, some microphones. So let's do it the old-fashioned way. If you wouldn't mind just sticking up your hand. There's a gentleman there.
I've just found an answer to a question you asked half an hour
Yeah?
ago. That's the trouble with interviews. I'm a slow thinker.
Go on.
I'm very, like vegetarians, you know, they need about 3 stomachs to digest before. I think the Canterbury thing is simply a Galapagos Island thing. I think that very fact that we weren't part of a London scene, we weren't part of some bigger thing that drew us into sort of any kind of homogeny. We developed slightly different gills and feelers and hands.
So is
Just
it
the very fact that we
evolution?
weren't
Yeah.
in the middle of it meant we had to evolve our own little way. Maybe that's something to do. Anyways,
Right. Better late than never, Robert. That's all.
that's the best you're going to get, mate.
Gentleman there.
Robert, you've had so many great songs, but what's it like when somebody does a cover version? How do you feel? I mean, shipbuilding. Your version's beautiful, Elvis Costello's version is beautiful. What's it like when you listen to his version? How do you feel?
Well, in that case, it was his song, and they asked me to do it, and I was very pleased to be asked. I thought, I better sing it like they would think Robert Wyatt would sing it, otherwise what would be the point of having asked me? Well, I mean, his version, you got David Bedford doing a brass part, you got Chet Baker. He's a cheeky bugger, and he goes and gets these people. Who would go and ask Chet Baker? But anyway, to do a little trumpet solo on it. And I'm in awe of his, the breadth of what he does. I was very happy. In fact, the best version, I want to say this now, the best version of shipbuilding I've heard is by a woman called, girl then, Tasmin Archer. Look it up. Tasmin Archer Shipbuilding. It is by far the definitive version. It's better than Elvis, it's better than mine. I honestly believe that, so thank you for giving me a chance to. The other thing is, I love it when anybody does my stuff at all. And I can't monitor how they do it because I don't know what it was about it that they wanted to do. You know what I mean? I remember Mingus talking about doing other people's tunes. He said, I don't try and learn what it should be. I play what I liked about it, what I wanted it to be for me. And so there are quite a lot of people over the years here and abroad who've done different versions of my tune, and I just always delighted. I feel it's like my my crazy grandchildren, you know what I mean?
But that is what we're also hearing tonight. It's their version of your
it's
work.
Absolutely. What they've done by only taking this lot on the road and thing, they've turned it into kind of theatrical event in a way. They brought theatre to it. And Alfie was always cross at me because I have no expression in my voice whatsoever and don't make any attempt to communicate. I just play the notes and sing words, which is all very nice and everything. But, you know, she said, yeah, put something into it. You know, and that's what this lot do, you know. Sarah Jane, voila, you know what I mean?
Yeah, there was somebody there, gentleman there, and then a lady in the row in front.
This year sees the 40th anniversary of punk and Year Zero. I can't think of another musician, other than the possible exception of Robert Fripp, that has escaped the wrath of that generation. And sorry to put you on the spot here, Robert, but can you answer why you were so embraced by the punks?
Well, I think I felt more, in terms of my working procedures, I was much closer to punk, and I was uncomfortable with the idea that went with pop, is that there was this kind of superior, more polished version of pop music. As I said before, I don't really believe in that. I'd listened to the poshest music in the world since I was a child, and I still loved, the Everly Brothers and Duane Eddy and all that, and I didn't like the idea that reintroducing a sort of class system within pop music, which is intrinsically accessible. So I was uncomfortable with that. I didn't make any speeches like that at all. I don't know. You'd have to ask them. But we always got on. Maybe one of the things, I never got rich. I was saved from the corruption of richness by having totally crooked managers for the first 10 years of my life. And I think this kept me pure in soul, you know what I mean, and made me a better person, quite frankly. And I think they recognise that.
The lady there.
Oh, hello. I'm here.
Oh.
You collaborated with many musicians, and you mentioned your wife is an artist.
Yes.
On all your covers. I was wondering if you collaborated with artists, visual artists, in terms of dialoguing together or interpreting their work or vice versa.
In the case with Alfie, no, not at all. She who does. I never tell her what to do. I wouldn't dare. And she does, however, dare to tell me, correct my music sometimes. But, fair enough. You know.
And that makes you a better person as well.
That's right. And I'm a better person for it. I mean, sometimes she says, I've been lazy in a vocal, she makes me do it again, or she thinks, why don't you? And she joined in very modestly. She was drawn into it, writing lyrics for me, which is mostly what she's helped me out with in the last, now I have to call this century. But originally, because she was staying there, we were in the house and I was making the music, and her career, as it had been going to be in film, was sort of torpedoed by me falling out a window. You've got sort of bloke thing, you know, suddenly the stereotypes are just, there it is, the bloke's useless, and she has to give up a career. But she had been already learned to do a lot of drawing and painting together, and we had a lot in common, but she knew the songs, and we shared a lot of sensibilities. And within that, I just let her do whatever she did, because she seemed to have a completely different idea for each record I made. I was sort of quite awestruck about that. So I never had any suggestions to make, or any need to make any suggestions. Although, as I say, she has made some to me, like, have you tried singing in tune in the last week or so? Or, no, seriously, we don't collaborate in that sense at all. We work alone together. There's a song called that, Alone Together. Very nice one, Chet Baker sings it. We work alone together. Yeah.
Thank you. Some more thoughts. Yes, gentleman there, and then there's a lady up at the back right, and there was a gentleman over there.
I noticed that the university publicised this event as featuring Robert Wyatt from Soft Machine.
Yes.
And that was a very long time ago.
Right.
And you've done a lot of things since, Robert. I wonder what you think about the shape of it all and whether that makes sense.
Well, particularly it does here, because the original Soft Machine, three of us were from Surrey Grammar School for Boys, distressingly distant from School for Girls. There you are, it's good for you. It's discipline, you know. And, but there it was. Now, what was the question? Oh, yeah, no, I'm quite happy. I mean, that was my training ground. In terms of this particular place, I'm quite happy with that. And also, people do think in terms of groups somehow. When they think of rock music, they think of rock groups. I mean, I don't particularly think in terms of groups, so, but it did come from that. That's fair. And I'm grateful to all the people I work with in that context for sort of setting me on the road and teaching me how to do funny time signatures and all that sort of thing. But I don't really feel I belong to anything beyond that. I mean, it sounds a bit airy-fairy to say it, but I'm not really conscious, when it comes down to it, for all the listening I do, that my ideas I have come from anywhere that I'm conscious of at all. I just sit down and go into a sort of coma, or that's a posh bit of word for that, I don't know. And things happen. I don't know how or why. That's the truth.
I'll come to that in just a moment, but I wonder, how do you listen? I know that sounds maybe a stupid question, but how do you listen? By yourself, or you have headphones?
Well, to what
to music? How do you?
Yeah, well, I mean, loud.
Loud.
That's one thing I like about rock music.
That's why the punks like you.
Yeah. I'm into loud. You know, I just like a few more chords. You know, or stuff. I like loud. I like, because we know Hendrix is very loud, and that was part of his thing. And I think always the trouble with the Earl Grey whistle test was it was sort of, you know, people, engineers saying, "Hi, mind have microphones, chaps," and all this. So it was also scaled down a bit for that. And I thought, no, you're missing the point here. Never mind your microphones. Let them blow up your speakers. What Hendrix did was he filled the room with sound, so you weren't getting it from the whole head. So you were inside the sound, not watching it from the outside. Mm-hmm. And I love that, and I like that about. I went to see Otis Redding, Brixton, at the Ram Jam Club, and it started off, and it was so bloody loud. And English rock groups were getting loud, and jazz groups, but you saw the originals there. 1, 2, 3, 4, bang, and you were just thrown in the deep end. And if you could survive it, it was wonderful. You were immersed in this thing, and so I do listen loud. I got some Spendor speakers, which I've had for 30 years now, which are studio monitors in my front room, and that's what I do, play, especially when Alfie has to go away for a couple of days. Whoa, you know. Not that she minds, but it's just that that's my company. So, and I learnt how to listen one way, which is fortunate, that I've been able to retain without having to do the trigger mechanism, which was, I did, although I don't like breaking the law, and I'm quite happy to get smashed on legal drugs. I'm not even allowed to do that anymore. But I did, you know, do have some cannabis, or whatever it's called, weed, listening to some records, and I was listening to a Charles Mingus record group, Mingus Presents Mingus, with 4 musicians on it, Danny Richmond, Eric Dolphy, Jackie Butt. No. Anyway, Mingus. And very stoned. And I was able to hear each of the 4 musicians simultaneously without having to pick them. I heard all 4 distinctly, and I heard them all together. And it was wonderful. It's like a whole dimension. It's from 3 to 4 dimensions in that. And I've retained that. I can now listen to music, the different parts simultaneously. And it's a great feeling, you know. I can hear.
It's a gift,
you know,
actually.
well, I can hear. I'm there with, you know, I'm there with them sort of somehow. Mm-hmm. It may help having been a drummer or in rhythm section and then being front stuff later on. I'm sort of contemporary role.
Lady at the back. Yeah, hi.
Okay. I'm just doing some research at the moment, which is called Sounds Like Canterbury, and it's about contemporary local music scenes. And I wanted to ask you whether Canterbury, according to you, in popular music is real or more imagined, and whether you see that cluster of music that became known as the Canterbury sound as a legacy that has got its contemporary continuation. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. The second part, certainly, yes, I can see that. And I just think, really, it wasn't a question of what we did, but what we felt allowed to do. There seem to be people place restrictions on what they do because of there's an idiom or a certain place, a slot they're trying to fit in our charts, or they're meant to be a certain type of music, your country or your jazz or your whatever it is. And people sort of feel like I've got an audience for that, so I've got to play for that. And I don't think we really did that. I mean, Brian and me and the rest of us used to play in the Beehive for dancers. That's what we played for, and it was wonderful, just playing that sort of stuff. Brian learnt lots of Chuck Berry, and I did a bit of drumming, and it was all. I really liked doing that, but there's no. You don't have to. You can do anything. That's what I think. I'd hope that was the legacy. There are no rules. If you think you, whose rules were they? You know, what is it? If you're cowed by, oh, we better not do this, better not do that. You know, that's why. What do you think they're going to do? It's like Bob Marley said. You know, the great thing about music is when it hits you, you feel no pain. I love that.
The other part was interesting too. I don't know what your thoughts were, whether the idea of a Canterbury scene is just kind of imagined.
I think it must be. It's not up to me to say, is it? Because I mean, I was around in the 60s, and basically I was off, really. Rather peripatetic sort of life. But people do refer to it, and I get ideas from listening to it and to what we were doing and to what friends of mine were doing. I mean, I didn't really hang around doing anything long enough to do it particularly well always. But then you got people like Caravan who made perfect songs and records and various things.
And we're loud, I can testify.
Yeah, well, there you go. But nice tunes. I could see, I remember, you know, the tracing ideas with them. You know, I remember playing with them when they were starting out. We were just a year or two older, which is a lot older when you're young. It's nothing now.
Okay, we've only got about 15 minutes left, so let's have a final set from Soup Song.
Yeah.
Would you like to say something about, we're going to do Soup Song, would you like to say something about it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is called Soup Song, from, of course, as all you educated Francophones will know, means a little bit in French, more or less. Anyway, but it was because it was a song, there's a rage against the misuse of bacon. I mean, there was a joke, I don't know if you know the comedian, the club landlord, the pub landlord, and he had 3 proofs of God. I can't remember what 3 of the other 2 were, but one of them was bacon, crunchy bacon was the proof of God. Although he said added, but mysteriously and mischievously, that God forbids his own people to eat it. But that was another thing. I love bacon, but now I discovered that it's wonderful in soup. Alfie makes soup with bits of bacon in it. It's wonderful. She uses it in all kinds of things. But this time, this is a protest song against the misuse of bacon, and I would retract it all, but the song remains, you know. And it's Brian Hopper's tune, and Brian Hopper wrote this altered blues, and I don't do a lot of any blues really, but I used to love it in the old days. I used to love the version we did of Hughes called Slow Walking Talk, and I just put different words on it for myself, but it's Brian's blues, and I like it, so I just kept doing it.
There's a mushroom on my eyelid. There's a carrot down my back. I can see in the distance a vast quantity of bean. Oh, to you I am just a flavor to make your soup taste nice. Oh my God, here come the onions, and don't believe it, at least a pound of rice. face, not to mention underhead. Now there's no hope of getting out of here. I can feel I'm going soft. Dirty waters, so my fibers. The whole saucepan is getting hot. So I may as well resign myself. I'm gonna make a friend of you, please. But I just can't help hoping that a tornado will bring you to your knees. It's gonna bring you to your knees. It's gonna bring you to your knees. I'm gonna bring you to your knees. Bring
We're going to do a tune called Forest, and it's from the album. Is it from Sleep, Robert? Cuckoo Land. Cuckoo Land.
Deep in the forest, the omens are bad. A cloud passes over the moon. Devil wind bends the tree. The black hat boys with their baby blue eyes, their Donna omelets and the lily white catcher religiously hatching their floods in the areas of eagles. Like the sun on the forest, her song rises up from the ashes of Auschwitz that bled down that lady, the white geese of Dover, the song of the Roma lives on and on and on and on and on. And the moon takes a bit while the singer sings, and her song rises up from the dark to the light, like smoke to the sky when the gypsy girl sings at the river's edge. But the moon's keeping watch and the gypsy girl sings. Her song rises up like smoke to the sky from the dark to the light. The song of the Roma lives Trees grow tall, all the winds blow cold. Tall trees Tall trees grow where the cold winds blow. Trees grow
Just in a couple of minutes left, we've got left, Robert. There was another question which I didn't get to from somebody who emailed in. I thought it was kind of pertinent as a kind of wrap-up question, which is, do you have a favourite album of your own or a favourite piece of music of your own? And maybe it's like saying, do you have a favourite child? It doesn't really work for many of us to say that. But or do you think even that there was a period of your life when you were particularly creative, that you're particularly proud of?
Well, I've sort of been happy that I didn't expect to. There is no, for a rock musician or whatever it is we're called, to live beyond 55 is sort of unknown territory, and it's not sort of, there's no script for that. It's not meant to happen, really. And so, in fact, I hit 55 at the turn of this century, and I thought, well, what am I doing now? But in fact, since then, I've had the most fun recording ever. And I would just say what I've done this century. I can't believe I sort of found a whole second wind. Moving out to Lincolnshire, maybe I had a nice music room and working at Phil Manzanera's studio with a brilliant engineer called Jamie Johnson, and then all the people coming along, and Annie coming along and helping me, and just kind of everything seemed to coalesce in a way that hadn't quite managed to. So just anything this century, really.
Anything this century.
Yeah.
And I've got a lot of thanks to people here, but I just wanted to mention to anyone who hasn't read Different Every Time, that seemed to me to be, sum you up in many ways, that constantly inventive, and I think we've got a flavour of that. And I'm forced to read quite a lot of biographies or autobiographies for work, and I'm very, very, very loath to do it sometimes. I remember reading the 800 pages of Jane Fonda's autobiography, thinking, Napoleon 800 pages, Hitler 800 pages, Stalin 800 pages, Jane Fonda 200 pages. This is absolutely brilliant, both about the music, the milieu, and about Robert himself. So I want to wrap up by thanking Robert very much. thanking Annie and Soup Songs, asking them to play us out. But please, before they do that, perhaps you could thank Robert yourselves.
My fists were clenched, stretched my fingers to relax. Still not sleeping, I tried counting sheep. One by one, they leapt across the fence constructed for them. Right to left, across the fence I had constructed. Having jumped, they refused further direction. Each sheep where it landed, refusing to exit, remained. Creating a vast writhing heap, growing fast on the left. Try as I might, I could not stop them entering once again. Try as I might, not one could leave the stage. Refusing to exit, remain. Creating a vast writhing heap, growing quickly on one side. Try as they might, no one could leave the stage. Try as I could not stop them entering once again. No longer dead. my goose was cooked, I wandered ship-shape on the shore.
Thank you very much. We've been thrilled to be here.